Let me hit you with something that most men never see coming. Sometimes when a woman is truly in love with you, she'll ignore you. Sounds backward, right? You're thinking, if she loves me, she should want to be around me more. But human emotions, especially in women, don't always follow logic. Her silence doesn't always mean disinterest. Sometimes it's deeper than you think. And if you don't understand this, you'll either chase too hard, push her away, or worse, sabotage something real. Here are 6 key truths you need to understand about why this happens. When a woman feels deeply for a man, those emotions can sometimes become so intense that they overwhelm her. Love isn't always a calm, steady process. It can be chaotic, vulnerable, and even frightening. For many women, the experience of truly falling in love opens up emotional doors they haven't walked through in years, maybe ever. And when that flood of emotion hits, not everyone knows how to handle it right away. Ignoring you, going quiet, or pulling back isn't always a sign she doesn't care. Sometimes, it's a coping mechanism for emotions that feel too big, too fast. Strong feelings make people vulnerable, and vulnerability can be terrifying, especially if she's been hurt before. If she's opening her heart to you and suddenly starts to feel like she's losing control, she might instinctively retreat. It's not because she's trying to manipulate you or punish you. It's often because she's unsure how to stay emotionally safe in a situation that feels so intense. It's not rational, and it's not about you doing something wrong. It's about her managing feelings that are bigger than she expected. In these moments, most men respond by chasing harder. They call more, text more, seek constant reassurance. But what she actually needs isn't more pressure. It's space. Space to breathe, to process, to confirm in her own mind that these feelings are real and worth investing in. A man who can remain calm and composed during this silence, who doesn't demand answers or get reactive, gives her the emotional safety to return. She feels that he's grounded, not needy, and that's exactly the energy that draws her back. When you understand that emotional overwhelm is part of real love, you stop fearing her distance and start trusting your own presence. Sometimes when a woman ignores you, it's not because she's lost interest. It's because she's unconsciously or consciously testing your strength. This isn't about games in the manipulative sense, but about seeing what kind of man you are when things don't go smoothly. In her silence, she's watching how you respond to uncertainty, to not being in control, to not getting the validation you want right away. She wants to see if you're the kind of man who collapses under pressure or remains grounded no matter what. When you chase after her the moment she pulls away, it tells her something. It shows that you're emotionally dependent on her response. It reveals that your sense of self is tied too closely to how she treats you. And while that might seem romantic on the surface, it actually repels feminine energy. Women are drawn to stability, not neediness. They're drawn to men who are emotionally solid, even when they're being tested, even when things are unclear. The man who remains calm when she creates distance, who continues his life without emotional collapse, demonstrates his value without having to say a word. He shows her that he won't be controlled by fear, by rejection, or by the temporary storm of her emotions. That kind of man is rare, and that kind of man is magnetic. Women respect a man who doesn't need to prove himself, who doesn't beg for attention, who understands that silence is sometimes just a phase, not a verdict. If you can pass this test, not with arrogance, but with quiet strength, you show her that you're not just another guy desperate for approval. You're the kind of man who leads emotionally, and that's the kind of man she'll chase when the silence breaks. Love is not always immediate clarity. For many women, emotions take time to settle and make sense. When she begins to feel something deep for you, it can trigger a whirlwind of thoughts and questions. Is this real? Can I trust him? Am I ready to be vulnerable again? These questions don't always get answered quickly, and instead of rushing to explain or express everything she's feeling, she may pull back and go silent. This silence is not rejection, it's reflection. During this period, she needs time and space to process what's happening internally. Unlike the masculine tendency to solve things quickly and directly, the feminine often flows through emotions before arriving at clarity. She may not even fully understand her own feelings yet. Her distance is not about punishing you or playing hard to get. It's about sorting through what she feels without outside pressure influencing her. This is where most men get it wrong. They panic, they chase, they demand answers, and in doing so, they interrupt her process. A high-value man does the opposite. He gives her space while remaining steady. He doesn't disappear or become cold, but he doesn't rush in to fix or chase either. He allows her to move through her thoughts and emotions at her own pace. When you respect her need for emotional clarity and show confidence through patience, it sends a powerful message. It tells her that you are not needy for a quick outcome, that you are emotionally secure, and that she is free to come to you when she's ready, not because you pushed, but because you allowed. That's how true connection deepens. Sometimes the strongest move is to step back and trust that space allows truth to rise. When a woman ignores you, even though she feels something for you, it can often be tied to her fear of emotional dependence. Love brings with it a loss of control. Suddenly, someone else has the power to impact her deeply, to influence her mood, her heart, and her sense of security. For many women, especially those who've been hurt before or who are fiercely independent, this level of emotional exposure can feel threatening. In response, she may pull back not because she doesn't care, but because she's trying to regain emotional balance. By distancing herself, she creates space where she feels safe again. It gives her a moment to remind herself that she's still in control of her emotions, that she hasn't given all of herself away. This isn't about games or manipulation. It's about protection. When she starts to realize how much she likes you, how much you matter, her instincts might push her to pause and evaluate how much power she's handing over. The way you handle this is everything. If you respond with panic, if you become overly emotional or start pleading for attention, you reinforce her fear. You show her that maybe she has given too much influence to someone who isn't stable under pressure. But if you remain composed, if you maintain your life, your rhythm, and your standards, she begins to see that being close to you doesn't mean losing herself. It shows her that your presence is solid, not overwhelming. The most powerful men understand that love isn't about possession or control. It's about presence. You don't need to chase what's stepping back out of fear. Sometimes, by staying grounded and letting her come back on her own terms, you prove that real strength is in emotional composure, not emotional reaction. One of the most misunderstood truths in relationships is that a woman's silence can often be an invitation, not to chase, but to lead. In moments where she pulls back or becomes distant, many men assume the right response is to prove their worth, to seek constant contact, or to explain themselves endlessly. But what she actually wants, deep down, is to feel your leadership, your calm direction, and your grounded energy. She wants to know that you can hold your frame even when her behavior becomes unpredictable. When a woman is in love and begins to emotionally withdraw, she is watching whether you will spiral or stay centered. This is when she subconsciously evaluates your masculine strength, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. Can you be a steady force in the face of her storm? Can you remain composed and continue building your mission, your goals, your life, even without her immediate validation? Real leadership in a relationship doesn't mean dominance or control. It means being the emotional anchor. When you don't panic, when you don't react impulsively to her pulling away, you show her something rare, that you lead yourself first. And that is magnetic. That calmness tells her she's safe with you, not just physically, but emotionally. She feels she can trust you not to collapse under pressure. She may not be able to explain this with words, but she feels it on a deeper level. That's why men who chase during these moments lose their power. while men who stay in control silently pull her back in. Leading means showing her that love doesn't have to be a roller coaster. It can be a steady, growing force. And when you embody that energy, she feels it. And she comes back not because you demanded it, but because she trusts it. When a woman truly loves you and starts to ignore you, it can often be a way for her to test the emotional strength of the connection without even realizing she's doing it. This isn't always a conscious decision. Sometimes it's instinctual. She needs to know that the man she's falling for isn't just emotionally available in the good moments, but emotionally resilient when things get confusing, uncertain, or distant. She wants to feel that you are not fragile, that your sense of self is not dependent on her mood or presence. This kind of test is less about manipulation and more about emotional survival. For many women, emotional security comes from knowing that the man she chooses isn't going to collapse under pressure, guilt trip her for space, or lose his composure when things aren't going smoothly. So she may step back, grow cold, or ignore texts, not because she's stopped caring, but because she's watching how you handle it. Do you become reactive? Do you get angry or needy? Or do you stay calm, composed, and self-directed? Passing. This test isn't about silence or pretending not to care. It's about being grounded. You acknowledge her behavior without chasing it. You stay consistent in your purpose, your mindset, and your emotions. You're not cruel or distant. You're just centered. That stability speaks louder than any words you could text or say. It tells her, I'm not here to play games. Know who I am, and I don't need to beg for your attention. When she sees that, it builds trust. It makes her feel emotionally safer with you. Ironically, by not reacting to the emotional pullback, you often end up bringing her closer. Because deep love doesn't chase, deep love stands firm. Remember this, masculine energy isn't about always fixing or chasing. It's about understanding, standing strong, and leading with quiet confidence. If she truly loves you and you handle the silence with presence and patience, she will come back stronger. If not, she was never yours to begin with.